What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vegas 93. We have Tatsuro Taira going against Alex Perez, and we are back in the Apex, and it seems like it's been a while since we have been in there. We had the Louisville card, we had the card in New Jersey as well, and yeah, back in the Apex here for a card that I'm personally looking forward to. I know a lot of people are kind of crapping on this card, but I think it's a card we're going to get a lot of violence. I think there's several fights that should not be sanctioned, so we're going to get some really good finishes, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this card, looking forward to breaking it down. Before we do so, if you guys could like the video, subscribe to the channel, and by the way, I want to thank you guys, a big thank you for 25,000 subscribers. I say it all the time. 99% of you guys are awesome. The guys that hit the like button, that comment, a nice comment, the guys that subscribe to the channel, the guys that subscribe to DFSbythenumbers.com. There's that 1%, and that 1% sucks. I'm not a big fan of that 1%. Like, what's wrong with some of these people? People are so mean. Why are people so mean to me? But that's just the 1%, right? Then it's all about the 99%. That is why I show up every single week, and that's why I'm going to continue to show up for the people that support, the people that enjoy the content. So to the 99% of you, you guys rock. To the 1% of you guys suck. You guys absolutely suck. Why do you even watch? Why do you guys even watch if you hate me so bad? But yeah, 99% of you guys rock. All right, yeah, 25K, looking to get 100K before hopefully I'm 40, so I have like 15 years to do it. So I do want to shout out the sponsor of the show, PrizePicks. We got PrizePicks, promo code DFSBTN. 100% deposit match up to $100. We'll touch on a couple PrizePicks plays I like mid-vid. And DFSbythenumbers.com, best way to support me. With signing up, you get access to all the stats you see on the Friday, the Saturday shows, access to all my articles. I do a PrizePicks article where I give my top 5 PrizePicks plays and a PrizePicks entry. I do the full card best bet article where I give the breakdown, the prediction, the confidence rating, and the best bet for each and every fight. And then also early access to bets. I'm going to be pretty heavy on this card. There's a couple spots that I'm really liking for this card. So yeah, looking forward to hopefully making some money for UFC Vegas 93. So yeah, with all that out of the way, I say we get into it. And we're going to start with the first fight on the card. We got Shayilan Nuerdanbieke going against Costa. We got Shayilan Nuerdanbieke, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. 39-11 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Costa, 27 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach, 20-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We're going to take a look at these odds, and we see that Shayilan Nuerdanbieke is a underdog. He opened up plus 115. He's currently plus 165, and then Costa opened up minus 135. He's currently a minus 190 favorite there. And yeah, these odds kind of surprised me. First fight of the night, I think it's a fun fight. I think both these guys are at least entertaining. Not the biggest fan of either guy, but what I find is very funny is both these guys are coming off of a loss to Steve Garcia, knockout loss to Steve Garcia, and both of those came in the second round where Steve Garcia basically broke both these guys. Steve Garcia landed a nasty knee on Shayilan and finished him shortly after, early second round. And then I think Steve Garcia might have landed a knee on Costa as well, dropped him, got on top, and then got a TKO against him. So both these guys failed the Steve Garcia test, and they're going against each other here. And I feel like Shayilan has a very sketchy record, in my opinion. This guy has like 50 fights. He's only 30. He's been very active earlier in his career against lower level competition, has a lot of finished losses against said competition, but I do think he's getting better. I do think he's making rapid improvements, and he has a path here. Costa can certainly be taken down. He can be held down on the feet. I really like the striking of Costa. If Costa is able to keep it upright, I do favor him, but I think Shayilan is a really good wrestler, can absolutely get the fight down to the mat and just make this competitive. So, yeah, I feel like this line should be closer. I don't know if I'm going to get involved in this fight. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of either guy, but I'm going to pick the upset here in Shayilan and take him to win by decision. Next, we got Josefine Knutsson going against Julia Polarstri. We got Knutsson, 28 years old, 5'3" with a 60-inch reach, 7-0 and 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Julia Polarstri, she is 26 years old, 5'2" with a 63.5-inch reach, 12-3 and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Knutsson opens up -185, currently -185. Polarstri opened up +165, currently a +160 underdog. And yeah, I'm very high on Josefine Knutsson. She's trained at the same gym as Khamzat Chimaev, and yeah, she's a very good fighter. I think she's very well-rounded, incredible minute winner. She's not a finisher at all. I think she has probably the worst finish rate on the card, maybe in the UFC at this. It's like a 14% finish rate for Knutsson. But that doesn't really matter. I mean, she's a strawweight. A lot of these fights are going to go to decision, and she's able to win minutes wherever the fight goes. On the feet, she's a very good striker. She's very good in the clinch. She can win minutes against the cage, and then on top of that, she can get takedowns and win minutes on top as well. So that's a really good fight. I mean, she can win anywhere. So I like that about Knutsson. As far as Polarstri, kind of forgot about her a little bit, had to refresh my memory on Polarstri, but she fought on the Contender Series against Jasmine Jasnavicius back in 2021, and in that fight, she took the fight up a weight class against a much bigger Jasmine, and went back and watched that fight. I was actually impressed. She clearly lost the fight, but she had some moments on the feet. She landed some very big shots, and even off her back, she was active, throwing up submissions, but it was just the size, the physicality that was too much in favor of Jasmine, and Jasmine was ultimately able to win that fight. And since then, I think she's won every fight since. And yeah, on the feet, Polarstri's nasty. She throws with very bad intentions, but I think the downfall in this matchup is going to be the takedown defense. She's not only getting taken down by Jasmine, which there's no shame in that, but she is getting taken down by some other fighters as well, and I just think Knutsson should be able to just win minutes on the mat here. So yeah, I think the striking could certainly be competitive. I like the striking of Polarstri, but I think where Knutsson's going to win this fight is in the clinch and then on the ground on top. Polarstri's going to be throwing up submissions, but I think Knutsson will be wise to it. Give me Knutsson to win this fight and to take it by decision here. Next we have, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. Me and Uncle Weezy do a show, Stat Diggers, on Sundays, and I put poor West. I was supposed to take that off, so I'm going to take it off. So we got Jeka Saragih going against poor Westin Wilson. Inside joke. We got Jeka Saragih, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, 14-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Westin Wilson, 35 years old, 6'1" with a 73-inch reach, 16-9 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have Jeka Saragih opening up -350, currently -335. Westin Wilson opening up +285, currently +275. So the reason I said poor Westin Wilson, poor Westin Wilson, is because what are they doing with this guy? I mean, this guy should not be fighting this Saturday. I'm very worried about Westin Wilson. Like, whoever sanctioned that Joe Anderson-Brito fight should be in jail currently. I cannot believe that they let that fight happen. Joe Anderson-Brito was like a -1,000 favorite, and Joe Anderson-Brito brutally knocked him out on the mat. And then they let him fight again against Gene Silva, which is a big step down from Joe Anderson-Brito. And even Silva in that match, it was like -700 to -800. And Gene Silva brutally knocks him out. Everything that Gene Silva was landing was causing a reaction out of poor Westin Wilson. Westin Wilson was wobbling around like a baby deer. It was hard to watch, and I thought, there's no way they're bringing this guy back. And then they're bringing him back, and they're giving him Jeka Saragih, who's another step down in competition. But Jeka Saragih probably knocks him out. Like, I'm watching Westin Wilson fights, and I'm like, this guy has no process to his game. This guy has no game plan. Like, he has that karate stance. He's not the best striker. He's super hittable. He has no durability. He's a grappler that doesn't really attempt takedowns. It's like, I'm not sure what this guy's doing. He's going against Jeka Saragih, who the only reason somebody's not -1,000 here against Wilson is because it is Jeka Saragih. Jeka's a guy that went out there and lost to Anshul Jubilee. He got broken and TKO'd against Jubilee. Jeka has multiple submission losses, so I think the reason this line isn't -1,000 is because Westin Wilson, crazy to say, he has a path, and that path is going to be some type of meme submission, maybe a toe hold, maybe a calf slice, or something ridiculous for Westin Wilson. But every time I picture this fight, it's just Jeka Saragih landing a big shot and knocking poor Westin Wilson out cold. I went back and watched Jeka's Road to UFC fight where he fought, I don't even know his name, and I don't really think it matters, but he fought this one dude, and he landed a shot so hard, the guy got knocked out cold. I just pictured poor Westin Wilson there instead of that guy, and if he lands that against Westin Wilson, it's going to be night-night. If he lands anything against Westin Wilson, it's going to be night-night. So Yeah, it's crazy seeing Jeka Saragih as a minus 300 favorite against anybody in the UFC, but I think in this fight it's warranted. I don't think this fight should be sanctioned. I don't think they should let Westin Wilson in there, but I think this will be the last time we see him, unfortunately. So give me Jeka Saragih, first round knockout against poor Westin Wilson. Moving on. We got Gabriella Fernandes going against Carli Judice. We got Fernandes, 30 years old, 5'6", with a 66-inch reach, 8-3, 3-2. In her last 5 fights, Carli Judice, 25 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 3-1 and 3-1 in her only 4 professional fights. We have Fernandes opening up minus 155. She is currently minus 155, but she was like minus 220 like yesterday. But Bunnies came back in on Judice. Judice opened up plus 135. She went all the way up to maybe like plus 170, plus 180, 85. And now she's back down to plus 135 here. Yeah, so the thing with this fight is I was actually very impressed with Judice. And it's kind of crazy. This is a fighter in Judice who went pro, I want to say like a year and a half ago. It wasn't too long ago. Her pro debut was 2022 in October. Yeah, so not too long ago. And I'm watching her fights, and it's like, it doesn't look like somebody that just went pro. I mean, her striking is very good. She's dangerous. She has 3 finishes all in the first round against the worst competition you'd ever see. But, she has some power. And then she went on the Contender Series and fought Ernesto Carrascate. And in the first round, it was super competitive. Judice was landing some big shots, but she was also getting hit with big shots. And as the fight went on, we did see Judice start to slow down a little bit. We saw Carrascate also go out there and just land a ton of strikes in that fight. So yeah, the strike and defense of Judice is very concerning. She absorbed 184 significant strikes against Ernesto Carrascate, so I didn't like seeing that. But yeah, I was semi-impressed with Judice. As far as Gabriella Fernandes, I think she's a lot better than her record shows in the UFC. Like in the UFC, she's 0-2. But look at those matchups. Jasmine Jazz the Vicious, who's very physically strong, very good wrestler. She took her down, and she controlled Fernandes for 11 minutes and 31 seconds. And then they give her another wrestler, and Teresa Bleda. Bleda takes her down 3 times and controls her for 10 minutes and 51 seconds. She's going against Judice here, who I haven't seen attempt a takedown. I haven't seen her get 1 takedown. So, I've been hearing some people talk about this matchup, and it's like they're saying Judice might wrestle here, and I just haven't seen it. Is Fernandez' ground game so bad that Judice is able to take her down? Maybe, but I haven't seen Judice go to that wrestling at all. So I think Fernandes is going to get the fight that she wants, and on the feet, she's a very good striker. She hurt Teresa Bleda on multiple occasions. She landed some absolute bombs on Jasmine Jazz the Vicious as well. It's just, she has a huge weakness in her game, and that's the ground game. So we'll see. If Judice is able to take her down, then I'll definitely be proven wrong here. But I think Fernandes is going to get the fight she wants, and I think both these ladies are going to throw down. But I'm going to take Fernandes here. I like the striking. I like the power. Judice is a little bit too hittable, a little bit still too green for me. But I think she could be improving at 25 years old. I'm going to take Fernandes to win this fight. I'll actually say by knockout. I think she lands a big shot at some point in this fight and finishes Carli Judice in the 2nd or 3rd round. From a prize picks perspective, I think the significant strikes is too low here for Gabriella Fernandes. It is set at 52.5 significant strikes, and I think it's too low because in her 2 UFC fights, she's landed 26 and 23. But again, against 2 wrestlers, Judice is not a wrestler as far as I'm concerned. Maybe she is. But as far as I've seen, she's not. And then as far as Judice, she got hit 184 times. So yeah, I like the more here on the significant strikes. If you want to check it out, use promo code DFSBTN on Prize Picks. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Moving on. Absolute banger. We got Adam Fugitt going against Josh Quinlan. Adam Fugitt, 35 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach, 9-4, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Josh Quinlan, 31 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach, 6-2, 2-1 no contest in his last 5 fights. We have 2 very closely lined fights on this card. This is the first one. Quinlan opened up minus 145, currently minus 125. It was a pick'em for a while. Adam Fugitt opened up plus 105. He is currently plus 125. And I think there's some arguments to be made for both sides. But the thing I see here is Josh Quinlan has not really looked that great in the UFC outside of the Witt fight, which you can kind of throw that away. It's hard to really count, knocking out Jason Witt because, a gust of wind can do that. But his last 2 fights, Trey Waters gets outlanded 104-50 against Danny Barlow, gets outlanded 95-39. He's just looked a little bit off in those fights. But this is a matchup where I think it could be a good matchup for Josh Quinlan because Adam Fugitt sports a 48% striking defense. He's very hittable. He's been hurt a lot in the UFC and outside the UFC. He's been finished a ton. Michael Morales dropped him 2 or 3 times and knocked him out in the 3rd round. Mike Malott knocked him down and submitted him in the 2nd round. And one thing that Quinlan has is a lot of power, and I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities to land on the chin of Adam Fugitt. I also think that Quinlan has very good takedown defense. He has a BJJ black belt as well, so if the fight does hit the mat, he's not going to be out of depth there. So yeah, I'm kind of leaning Quinlan here, and I'm leaning Quinlan by knockout. I haven't been impressed at all in his last 2 fights, but I do think this is going to be a much easier matchup. Adam Fugitt is not the caliber striker of a Danny Barlow. Adam Fugitt is not the caliber of striker as a Trey Waters. I feel like this is a matchup where Josh Quinlan could potentially go out there and get a knockout, so I'll take him to win by knockout. I know Adam Fugitt's a dog on the money line, and he's an actual dog. He's one of those guys that, I wouldn't be shocked if he did start barking at Quinlan. I kind of get that vibe from Fugitt, but yeah, I think Quinlan, this is a fight that he needs to win. This is probably the last fight on his contract. So yeah, give me Quinlan. Give me Quinlan to win this fight by knockout in the, I'll say, 1st round. Next, we have another fight that probably should not be sanctioned. We got Nate Maness going against Jimmy Flick. We got Nate Maness, 32 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach, 15-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Jimmy Flick, 33 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach, 17-7 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Nate Maness opened up -350. He's currently a -500 favorite. Jimmy Flick opened up +285. He's currently +375. So Jimmy Flick still can't believe it. So Malcolm Gordon was a -200 favorite against Jimmy Flick. I actually bet on Jimmy Flick in that matchup. And I'm like, guys, now is not the time to fade Jimmy Flick with Malcolm Gordon, who's the least durable fighter in UFC history. Now's not the time against Malcolm Gordon. And Malcolm Gordon beat the brakes off of Jimmy Flick. Just beat the absolute brakes off of Jimmy Flick for the first 6 minutes. And then Malcolm gasses out, makes a mistake, and gets subbed. But holy crap, Malcolm Gordon, it looked like he was about to knock out Jimmy Flick on multiple occasions. It looked like he was about to TKO him. And then in the 2nd round, it looked like he was about to knock him out on the feet. It was a pretty bad look, but Malcolm Gordon, being Malcolm Gordon, got finished. This is the matchup to fade Jimmy Flick, but yeah, we're having to pay for it. Holy crap. Nate Maness is -500. And Nate Maness is probably my number 1 enemy. I went out there and I picked against Nate Maness in every single UFC fight he's had. I kid you not. I have picked against Nate Maness in every single fight. I picked Johnny Munoz in that fight. I picked Luke Sanders to go out there and beat him. I picked Tony Gravely to go out there and beat him. I picked Umar Nurmagomedov, obviously, but I picked him to win inside the distance, so I was still wrong. I picked Tagir Ulanbekov to win, which I was right there. And then I picked Mateus Mendonça against Nate Maness. I have picked against Nate Maness in every single one of his fights, and now it's my first time. It's my first time picking Nate Maness to win a fight, because I have to. I mean, holy crap, this is a rough matchup for Jimmy Flick here. It's like, Jimmy Flick, he's exciting, he's a submission artist, but he's one of those guys where great hammer, just the worst nail imaginable. He has, I question the heart. This is a guy that retired not too long ago. He came back. When the going gets tough, he looks for the door. He doesn't just look for the door. He runs out the door. I mean, this is a guy in Jimmy Flick who's been finished 6 or 7 times in his career. And it's a tough matchup. Maness is going to be much bigger here. The weight cut for Maness is brutal, but he's able to get down there. And Maness has a ton of power. And I'm watching that Mendonça fight back with Nate Maness, where Maness is on top and he just showed vicious ground and pound. And I think that ground and pound could come into play here. We saw Jimmy Flick get GMP'd by Charles Johnson, of all people, in the 1st round. So I think Nate Maness can knock him out on the feet. I think Nate Maness can TKO him on the mat. Jimmy Flick, he is flying triangle or bust here, in my opinion. So the line is warranted. Not a big fan of Nate Maness in general, but I am a big fan of him in this matchup. I think Nate Maness sends Jimmy Flick his head out of the octagon this Saturday and does it in the very 1st round. Moving on, we have my main event. I mean, this is a fight that I think is on the prelims, which is kind of ridiculous when we talk about some of these fights on the main card. But yeah, they should move this one to the main. I mean, this is a fight that I think everybody's looking forward to. Tagir Ulanbekov going against Joshua Van. We got Ulanbekov, 32 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, 15-2, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Joshua Van, 22 years old, 5'5", with a 65-inch reach, 10-1. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We have Tagir Ulanbekov opening up -245, currently -225. Joshua Van opening up +215, currently +190. The odds surprised me. Joshua Van has a ton of hype. I thought that these odds might be more competitive, but I also think it's a pretty bad matchup for Joshua Van. So the thing with Joshua Van is, his only loss comes by submission. You go back and watch that fight. It wasn't too long ago, like a couple years ago, and it just wasn't the best look. It was against a 3-1 guy, where I think he's now 3-3. It's not the best competition, but the dude took him down in every single round. The first round got him into a bunch of bad spots. The second round comes around, gets him to a bunch of bad spots, and then eventually submits Joshua Van. And then ever since that fight, I've just been waiting for somebody to try to take this guy down, try to out-grapple Joshua Van. I thought Zalgas might try to do that. Did not happen. Of course, the next guy, Kevin Borjas, purely a striker. That didn't happen. Felipe Bunes did try to take him down a couple times, and he did, but he ended up gassing out in 5 minutes. But now he's going against Tagir. And I know people hate Tagir Ulanbekov for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's kind of weird, but he's very good. He's a very, very good grappler. The wrestling is good as well. Even the striking is very good with Tagir. He's very long, very rangy for the division, has decent power as well. But it's the grappling that I think is going to really give Joshua Van problems here. Tagir Ulanbekov, he has those very long arms, so the guillotines are going to be available. And then if he gets your back, he's going to choke you out. And I'm going through his record, and I'm looking at some of the guys he's fought, and it's like a lot of black belts on his record. Bruno Silva, black belt in BJJ. Alan Nascimento, very good black belt. I think even Tim Elliott's a black belt now. Nate Maness, I think, is either a brown or black belt. And then Cody Durden, who does get submitted a lot, but Cody Durden's a guy that started to gain some hype as well. So I think this is going to be probably the worst grappler that Tagir has fought in the UFC, for what it's worth. And I think he's going to be able to get takedowns here. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. And once he does get takedowns, I think he's going to get to a dominant position. I think he's going to find the submission here. The thing about Joshua Van is he's lost every single first round thus far in the UFC. But Felipe Bunes did slow down. Kevin Borjas did slow down. I don't think Tagir's slowing down, man. So I like Tagir here. I like Tagir here to win this fight by submission at some point. I'll say first round submission. I just think this is a levels fight. Joshua Van, he's only 22 though. I think he's going to get better and better. Apparently, this guy just started grappling like a year and a half, 2 years, not too long ago. Whereas Tagir, he's probably been wrestling his entire life, grappling his entire life. So I think it's a levels fight here as of now. But Joshua Van, I still think, has a massive ceiling in the UFC. I think it's just going to be a little bump in the road here for him. So give me Tagir Ulanbekov to win this fight and win it by first round submission. Next, we have a very fun fight, striker versus grappler matchup. We got Garrett Armfield going against Brady Hiestand. We got Armfield, 27 years old, 5'6" with a 70-inch reach, 10-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Brady Hiestand, 25 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach, 7-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We have so Brady Hiestand is a underdog. He opened up plus 185, currently plus 155, and we got Garrett Armfield opened up as a plus or minus 220 favorite, and he's currently a minus 180 favorite there. So yeah, striker versus grappler matchup, and I don't know how to feel about this one, because in theory, like Brady Hiestand certainly has a path here. Garrett Armfield has 3 losses. All 3 of those losses are due to him getting out-grappled. He has 2 submission losses, one against David Onama, one outside the UFC. He also has a decision loss to Ronnie Lawrence, where I wasn't able to watch that fight, but knowing Ronnie Lawrence, I'm almost certain as to what happened, and that's Ronnie Lawrence taking him down in all 3 rounds, more than likely. So yeah, lost a decision there. And I kind of thought that Brad Katona might be able to go out there and implement that game plan, but Brad Katona, he did take him down 4 times still, and Garrett Armfield did show improved takedown defense and get-up game, but kind of thought Brad Katona might sell out for the wrestling a little bit more than he did, but it is what it is. I actually thought Brad potentially won that fight, but it was a good win there. I think this is actually a step down from Brad Katona even. So yeah, Brady Hiestand. Yeah, well, the thing I'll say about Brady is he has a ton of heart. I still think he has a long way to go. He's only 25 years old. The striking defense is a major concern. He's very, very hittable on the feet, and his chin's a concern as well. I guess he has good recoverability, but this is a guy that's getting dropped in every single fight by guys that you really shouldn't be getting dropped by. I mean, Ricky Turcios knocked him down in the third round, which you have to try to get knocked down by that guy. So that was not a good look. Fernie Garcia, a guy with 0 knockouts, knocked down Brady Hiestand with like the first punch he landed, and then Nuerdanbieke knocked him down in the second round, which that's okay. But getting dropped by Fernie Garcia and Ricky Turcios is just unacceptable. But yeah, I mean, Brady, he's not going to want to stand with Garrett Armfield. Armfield's striking is very good. He has a lot of power as well. Brady's going to have to sell out for the wrestling, and if he does, he has a path here. But I do think Armfield, his takedown defense is improving, his get-up game is improving, and I just think he's going to be a level above in the striking. So you can definitely make a case for Brady Hiestand here, but I'm going to take Armfield. I'm going to take Armfield to win this fight by knockout. I actually had Nuerdanbieke to win by knockout against Brady last time. It was close on several different occasions. I thought Dana was potentially going to get maybe a TKO, and then in the second he dropped him hard as well. But Dana kind of gassed out and kind of gave up in that third round, which I don't see Armfield doing. So I think Armfield is going to have 15 minutes here to land a big shot, and I think he gets it. So give me Garrett Armfield to win this fight. I'll take him to win this fight by second round knockout, but I'm fully aware the grappling path for Brady is there. I just think Armfield has improved in the striking. There's a massive discrepancy in the striking here. Next, we have another fight that might not happen here. We'll see. We'll talk about why. We got Almabaev going against Jose Johnson. We got Almabaev, 30 years old, 5'4", with a 65-inch reach, 19-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jose Johnson, 29 years old, 6 foot, with a 71-inch reach, 16-8 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Asu Almabaev is the second biggest favorite on this chalky card. Asu opened up minus 425. He's minus 600. Jose Johnson opened up plus 355. He's currently a plus 425 underdog. And Jose Johnson is going to be cutting down to flyweight for the first time in his entire career, I believe pro or amateur, which he has a ton of fights. And I don't think he's ever fought at flyweight. So he has to be the first 6-foot flyweight ever. I mean, I can't imagine there being another 6-foot flyweight out there. So I think weigh-ins are going to be very important for this fight. Jose Johnson was a guy that was big for like bantamweight, and now he's cutting down an extra 10 pounds here. So I do want to see Jose Johnson on the scale here. And even if he does make weight, though, I think it's just a terrible matchup for him. Asu Almabaev, I'm not 100% bought in and sold on the guy per se, but I'm bought in and sold on him in this matchup particularly. He's going against Jose Johnson, who, yeah, so he's cutting down to flyweight. I don't know if I love that. Like, I think that weight cut has to take a ton out of him. He's going to have to, you got to imagine he's cutting a ton of weight there. So what's his cardio going to look like cutting down to 125? What's his durability going to look like cutting down to 125? Jose Johnson's a guy with some of the worst takedown defense you'll ever see. You know, a gust of wind has taken this guy down. And Almabaev, he can certainly wrestle. He can certainly grapple as well. His cardio is good. He can go a full 15 if need be. And Jose Johnson struggled on the mat in a lot of fights. Jose Johnson has 4 losses by submission. No takedown defense. It's just an awful matchup for the guy. Jose Johnson has a ton of power, though. So if for some reason Asu decides to strike with Johnson, which would be a major mistake, but we've seen fighters do dumb things before, maybe Jose Johnson can land a big shot. And if I don't think, he's not stuffing takedowns. That's not happening. Jose Johnson's not stuffing takedowns. So it had to be like a mental error for Almabaev to lose this fight, in my opinion. So give me Almabaev here. The line, it's wide, but I think at the end of the day, he's going to go out there. He's going to look minus 600. He's going to take down Jose Johnson, rinse and repeat, get into dominant positions, and eventually submit Jose Johnson in the second round. And from a prize picks perspective, I'm liking some fight time here. Give me the less than 12.5 minutes fight time. The under 2.5 is priced at like -150 right now, so I think we're getting some solid value on the less than 12.5 minutes fight time. The fight doesn't go like -240, something like that at the moment. So yeah, I think we're getting violence here. If Jose Johnson's winning, it's by knockout, and if Almabaev's winning, could be by decision, but I think the sub is super live here. So give me the less than 12.5 minutes fight time if you guys want to check it out. Promo code DFSBTN. Moving on here to the next fight, and yeah, I feel like some of these like main card fights, they can, like, why isn't Tagir Van on here instead of this fight? But yeah, we got a fight that I could really care less about. We got Douglas Silva de Andrade going against Miles Johns. We got Douglas Silva de Andrade, 38 years old, 5'6", with a 68.5-inch reach, 29-5 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Miles Johns, 30 years old, 5'7", with a 66-inch reach, 14-2 and 3. I think it's maybe 3-1 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. But yeah, we look at the odds here. We have Miles Johns is the favorite. This is one of those pick'em type fights on this card. And we have Douglas Silva de Andrade is a +105 underdog here. I don't know. I mean, Douglas Silva de Andrade, 38 years old. He's getting up there from bantamweight. I still think he has a little bit left in the tank, but that's typically an age you're going to start being a little concerned about these lower weight classes. But yeah, I still think he's got some left. The fight against Cody Stamann, he was an underdog in that fight, pulled off the win. Decent performance there. Competitive fight, but decent win nonetheless. Miles Johns, I think a guy that's definitely going to be the one that's more likely to make improvements. I'm certainly one of those guys that is counting out Miles Johns time and time again. I've never really liked the cardio, although his cardio has looked a lot better as of late. He's a guy that has a wrestling background, but never really chooses to use the wrestling background. A little bit low volume on the feet. Striking defense is great. The durability is kind of questionable as well. I don't know. I feel like this is a super close fight. I feel like it should be a pick'em. Like Douglas Silva de Andrade, yes, he's older, but I think he's a little bit higher volume. I think he has great takedown defense, good defensive grappling as well. Like if he gets taken down, he's going to be fine there. A little bit more power than Miles Johns. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hate this fight, but I'm gonna take Douglas Silva de Andrade. I think it's like a split decision. I could go either way type fight. Give me Douglas Silva de Andrade to win this fight, but with not a ton of confidence in the 38-year-old. Next, we have a fight that I don't like even more. Like, what are they doing with this bout order? I feel like, like Asu Almabaev should be on the main card. Tagir Ulanbekov. Like, throw Westin Wilson up in here. Put Westin Wilson up on the main card. But no, we got Timmy Cuamba going against Lucas Almeida. We got Cuamba, 25 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach, 8-2 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Lucas Almeida, 33 years old, 5'11", 71-inch reach, 14-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Cuamba, -175, the opener, currently -200. Almeida, +145, the opener, currently +165. Gosh, I mean, I actually liked Lucas Almeida. I actually had some faith in the guy potentially coming into the UFC. He's such a fun fighter to watch, has a 100% finish rate. He's a BJJ black belt, although the grappling doesn't look that great, but he has a ton of power. And yeah, there's been some solid performances and some really bad performances thus far for Lucas Almeida. That Trizano fight was very good. He went out there as an underdog and dropped Trizano multiple times in that fight and knocked him out. But after that, he went out there and just got ran through by Pat Sabatini. Sabatini made it look easy. Lucas Almeida showed zero resistance in the takedown defense and the grappling. Not the best look. And then he goes out there against Andre Fili and gets knocked out in the first round. Not the best look. But now he's going against Timmy Cuamba, who I do think is a step down from both those guys. Timmy Cuamba, I'm just not sold on, but I'm also not sold on Lucas Almeida. It's like Timmy Cuamba, I think he's decent everywhere. He can wrestle a little bit. His striking's decent, but he has very low volume. I don't like that. And Almeida's the guy that's probably going to be a lot more reckless in this fight, but I do think he's going to be higher volume in this fight. I do think Almeida's going to be landing the bigger shots in this fight. For Timmy Cuamba to go out there and look -200, I do think he's going to have to wrestle for 3 rounds, which could that happen potentially. Sabatini was able to have a ton of success, but that's Pat Sabatini. So I think it's a very, very close fight here. I want nothing to do with it. I don't want to put any money on Timmy Cuamba at -200, but at the same time, I don't really want to bet Lucas Almeida at all. So, yeah, I feel like, I don't know, if I had to make a pick, because I have to make a pick, that's what I'm here doing. I'm going to pick Lucas Almeida, and I feel terrible about it. I'm sick of I'm sick of picking this guy and being wrong. So give me Lucas Almeida to win a very close decision, which would be his very first decision win ever. I just think this has close fight written all over it. I don't know why Timmy Cuamba's minus 200. I think it's a very, very competitive fight. But give me Almeida to win by decision. Not a big fan of that fight either. I feel like a lot of these prelims should be on the main card, and a lot of these main card fights should be on the prelims. But it is what it is. We're gonna watch him regardless. All right, Ikram Aliskerov going against Antonio Tricali. We got Ikram Aliskerov, 31 years old, 6 foot with a 76-inch reach, 15-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Antonio Tricali, 33 years old, 6'5" with an 82-inch reach, 12-3, and 3-1 and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. Ikram Aliskerov opened up minus 800. He's currently minus 1,400. Antonio Tricali opened up plus 550. He's currently plus 800. And this fight should not be sanctioned. Like, it really should not be sanctioned whatsoever. Whoever made this fight should be ashamed of themselves. I mean, this fight shouldn't be happening. This line could be wider. This line, which is kind of stupid to say, but this line seriously could be wider. If this line was minus 3,000 Ikram, I wouldn't think twice about it. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. Because what is Antonio Tricali doing here? What is he doing here? I mean, he's a handsome guy, but that's about it. Look at him in that picture. Oh my gosh. First of all, so Antonio Tricali, like one win in the last 6 years. I mean, I'm not even making that. One win in the last 6 years from Antonio Tricali against a guy named Wesley Israel. His nickname is Bubba. And I wish I can pull up the picture for you guys of Bubba. Let's see if I can pull it up for you guys. I don't know. I feel like I might get flagged for pulling it because this is such a terrifying picture. I feel like people might get upset. But let's see if I can pull it up. There it is. Oh my gosh, look at that. That's his only win in the last 6 years. I am sorry for pulling that up. I'm sure a lot of you guys turned off the video by now, but holy crap. His only win in the last 6 years is against Bubba. Yeah, I don't know. This is a guy that he hasn't fought in a long time. Like, the last fight was against Bubba, and that fight was like a couple years ago. He had a win on the Contender Series that got overturned because he tested positive for PEDs. Yeah, Ikram wins. What else is there to say? Ikram's not losing to a guy that lost to Bubba. Come on. Ikram round 1 knockout. Ikram's a very good fighter. This is a guy that I think has a ton of upside. So for him to be matched against Tricali, I think is quite hilarious. And anything other than a first round finish, Ikram should be ashamed of himself. If he's taken this guy into the second round, Ikram should be just absolutely ashamed of himself. And I do want to see Antonio Tricali on the scale because we haven't seen him in years. He did pop for PEDs. I do want to see what he's looking like nowadays. But and to be honest, I'm not even convinced Tricali shows up at this point. Why would he? Why would you show up to fight Ikram? I don't know. This fight makes no sense, but give me Ikram to win this fight by first round knockout. Moving on. Main event, Tatsuro Taira going against Alex Perez. If you guys have not already liked the video, I did do a main event breakdown and prediction for this fight here. I talked some betting as well. If you guys want to check that out, it's on the channel. But we got Tatsuro Taira. He's 24 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach, 15-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's undefeated. Alex Perez, 32 years old, 5'6" with a 65.5-inch reach, 25-8. And 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Taira opened up minus 250, currently minus 185. Perez opened up plus 210. He is currently a plus 160 underdog. And yeah, what's going on with Alex? Like, shout out to Alex Perez. This is a guy that went from being the least inactive fighter in the UFC, pulling out of fights, missing weight. Even when he's fighting, he comes in, he misses weight, and the fight gets called off. He pulls out due to health issues before the fight's supposed to happen. I mean, Alex Perez was just pulling out of fights left and right. Now, all of a sudden, he's super active. He fought Muhammad Mokaev 3 months ago. He fought Mateus Nicolau a month ago. And now he's fighting Tatsuro Taira here, which being active it could be a good thing, and also could be like a bad thing. Like, is he being too active here? Like 3 fights in the last 3 months. I'm not sure if I love that, especially because the weight cut is very hard for Alex Perez. He's missed weight on a couple different occasions. Fights have been called off because he's missed weight in the past. So I do want to see what Alex Perez does look like on the scale, but he's been able to make weight his last 2 times, which is good. It's just 3 times in 3 months. We'll have to see it here. I'm a big believer in Tatsuro Taira. This is a guy that's 15-0 undefeated, and he's, in my opinion, just the full package in terms of he's a very good striker. I like the striking of Taira, very sneaky power. Love the volume as well. The volume in the UFC has been very good. Outside the UFC, I was a little bit worried, was a little bit gun-shy in a lot of his fights, but inside the UFC, when he's on the feet, he is letting his hands go, and I like to see that. The wrestling, it's not the best in the world, but he is able to get fights down to the mat. His timing's good, but what impresses me the most, and what has always impressed me the most against Taira, even when he was back like 20, 21 years old, is the grappling. The grappling is so slick from Tatsuro Taira. If he's able to take you down, he can choke you out multiple different ways. He can get you with an armbar, which you don't see a ton of armbars in the men's divisions, but you can get an armbar there, the rear naked choke, just a lot of different options for Taira once the fight does hit the mat. And Alex Perez is a guy that has been submitted a lot. Alex Perez has been submitted 5 times in his career. I think 2 or 3 of his losses inside the UFC have come by sub as well. Alex Perez has great takedown defense, which I think could maybe come into play here. But I just see at some point in this fight, 25 minutes to work with. I think at some point this fight will hit the mat, whether it is Taira getting the back standing, whether it's Taira getting the fight down to the mat with a takedown. I think at some point this fight does hit the mat, and when it does, I think it will be a wrap. I think Taira will get that sub. The striking, I think it'll be semi-competitive. I love the leg kicks of Perez, and I like the hands of Taira there, and the power of Taira as well. But I think the striking will be close. I just think once the fight hits the mat, there's going to be a massive discrepancy in the grappling. So it's a great test for Taira. He's fought okay guys, okay flyweights, but this is going to be a guy in Alex Perez who's fought for a title, a guy that did go out there and beat Matheus Nicolau, which was a great win. So super good test for Tatsuro Taira, and I'm going to take him to win and pass this test and continue to level up, continue to move up these rankings, and if he does beat Perez, it's a great win. So give me Taira to win this fight. I'll take him to win this fight by 2nd round submission. There you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel on your way out. Check out dfsbythenumbers.com. Lots of content on there. I'll be getting out some early bets, looking at a couple spots, waiting for some of these props to drop. But yeah, I'm going to be attacking a lot of these fights. A lot of violent spots I like on this card as well. And yeah, be on the lookout for the rest of the content throughout the week. DraftKings, Prize Picks, betting, you name it. It'll be out there. And yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC Vegas 93. And we'll see you later.